you're over 55, there's a good chance a doctor has mentioned your blood sugar at least once in the last few years. Maybe it was just a passing comment, maybe it was something more serious. But here's what almost nobody tells you in that 5-minute appointment. There are 3 vitamins sitting quietly in your kitchen cabinet or your local pharmacy right now that play a bigger role in healthy blood sugar than most people realize. And the third one on this list is the one doctors bring up the least, even though researchers have been studying it for decades. Stick with me for the next few minutes, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what these 3 vitamins are, how they may support your body's ability to manage blood sugar, and one simple mistake that a lot of people make that can quietly work against them. Let's start with why this even matters, especially for those of us in our 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. As we age, our bodies naturally become a little less efficient at handling sugar from the foods we eat. This isn't a personal failing. It isn't because you did anything wrong. It's simply part of how the body changes over time. The cells that respond to insulin, which is the hormone that helps move sugar out of your blood and into your cells for energy, can become a bit more resistant with age. Adding changes in muscle mass activity levels and even sleep quality, and you can see why blood sugar becomes a bigger conversation the older we get. The good news is this. While you can't stop time, you can support your body with the right nutrients, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Not miracle cures, not quick fixes, real well-studied vitamins that may help your body do what it's already trying to do a little more effectively. Before we get into the first vitamin, I want you to keep one question in your mind as you watch. Which of these 3 do you think you might be missing? Because for at least one of them, the answer might surprise you. Let's get into it. The first vitamin on our list is vitamin D. Now, you've probably heard of vitamin D before. Maybe your doctor has mentioned your levels, or maybe you've seen it on a supplement bottle. Most people know it as the sunshine vitamin, because our skin makes it when we're exposed to sunlight. But here's what a lot of people don't know. Vitamin D does far more than just support bone health. Think about vitamin D like a key that helps unlock certain doors inside your cells. Some of those doors are involved in how your body responds to insulin. When vitamin D levels are low, some of those doors don't open as smoothly, and that can make it harder for your body to move sugar out of the bloodstream efficiently. Researchers have observed that many adults with lower vitamin D levels also tend to have more difficulty managing their blood sugar. Now, this doesn't mean low vitamin D causes blood sugar problems by itself. The relationship is more complex than that, and scientists are still studying exactly how the two are connected. But what we do know is that vitamin D receptors, which are like little docking stations for the vitamin, have been found in the very cells that produce insulin. That's not a coincidence. Researchers take lightly. Here's a scenario a lot of viewers will relate to. Picture a man in his early 70s, let's call him a retired teacher who spends most of his time indoors now. He reads, he watches television, he tends to a small garden in the early morning before it gets too hot. He isn't getting nearly as much sun exposure as he did when he was younger and more active outdoors. Over time, without realizing it, his vitamin D levels can quietly drop. This is incredibly common, especially for people who live in northern climates who have naturally darker skin which absorbs sunlight differently, or who simply spend more time indoors as they get older. So what can you actually do about this? A simple blood test from your doctor can tell you where your vitamin D levels currently stand. If they're low, your doctor might recommend a supplement and safe sun exposure. Even just 10 to 15 minutes a few times a week can also help. Foods like fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified dairy products contain vitamin D as well. But here's something important to keep in mind, and this ties into a mistake we'll talk about later in this video. More is not automatically better. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, which means your body stores it rather than flushing out the excess. Taking very high doses without medical guidance can actually cause problems. So if you're considering a supplement, it's always best to check with your healthcare provider first, especially if you're already taking other medications. Now let's move to the second vitamin, and this one might be even more surprising than the first. Vitamin K2. Most people have heard of vitamin K in relation to blood clotting. That's vitamin K1, and it's the one found in leafy green vegetables. But vitamin K2 behaves quite differently in the body, and it's often overlooked entirely. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine your bloodstream as a busy highway system. Calcium is like a delivery truck driving down that highway. Vitamin K2 acts like the traffic controller, helping direct that calcium to where it actually needs to go, like your bones, rather than letting it settle in places it shouldn't, like your blood vessels. Now you might be wondering, what does that have to do with blood sugar? Here's where it gets interesting. Emerging research suggests that vitamin K2 may play a role in how the body produces and uses insulin. Some studies have found a connection between vitamin K2 and improved insulin sensitivity, meaning the body's cells respond more effectively when insulin sends its signal. Scientists believe this may be linked to proteins that vitamin K2 helps activate, some of which are involved in the pancreas, the organ responsible for producing insulin in the first place. I want to be clear here because this is still an area of ongoing research. The evidence for vitamin K2's role in blood sugar management is promising, but it's not as extensively established as it is for something like physical activity or diet. Still, many health educators consider it a nutrient worth paying attention to, especially because so few people get enough of it. Why is that? Vitamin K2 is mostly found in fermented foods and certain animal products, things like natto, which is a fermented soybean dish popular in Japan, as well as certain aged cheeses and egg yolks. If your diet doesn't regularly include these foods, and for most people in Western countries it doesn't, you may be getting very little vitamin K2 without ever realizing it. Here's a common mistake people make once they learn about vitamin K2. They rush out, buy a supplement, and assume they're covered. But if you're on blood thinning medication, vitamin K2 can interact with it in ways that matter quite a bit. This is a perfect example of why we always encourage talking to your doctor or pharmacist before adding a new supplement, especially at this stage of life when many people are managing more than one medication. Alright, we've covered vitamin D and vitamin K2. Now let's talk about the third vitamin, the one that gets mentioned the least, even though the research behind it goes back the furthest. Vitamin B1, also known as Thiamine. If you've never heard of this one in the context of blood sugar, you're not alone. Most people associate B vitamins with energy levels or nerve health, and that's true. Thiamine does support both of those things. But here's what's less commonly discussed. Thiamine plays a direct role in how your body processes carbohydrates, which are ultimately broken down into sugar for energy. Think of thiamine like a factory worker on an assembly line. When you eat carbohydrates, your body needs to break them down step by step to turn them into usable energy. Thiamine helps operate several of those steps. Without enough of it, the process can slow down or become less efficient, sometimes leading to a buildup of certain byproducts in the bloodstream. This matters even more for older adults for a specific reason. Thiamine levels can be affected by certain medications that are very commonly prescribed to people managing blood sugar concerns. Some of these medications over the long term may reduce how much thiamine the body retains. This creates an interesting situation where the very approach some people are already using may be quietly working against one of the nutrients their body needs most. This is exactly the kind of overlooked detail we mentioned earlier in the video, and it's one worth discussing with your doctor if it applies to you. Thiamine is found in foods like whole grains, pork, legumes, seeds, and fortified cereals. However, because thiamine is water-soluble, your body doesn't store large amounts of it. That means consistent, regular intake matters more than occasional servings. So now you know all three: vitamin D, vitamin K2, and vitamin B1. Let's bring this all together. None of these vitamins work in isolation, and none of them are a substitute for the fundamentals. Regular movement, a balanced diet, rich in whole foods, adequate sleep, and staying in close communication with your healthcare provider. Think of these vitamins less like a magic switch and more like proper maintenance for a car. You can have the best engine in the world, but without the right fluids, filters, and regular checkups, it won't run the way it's supposed to. If there's one takeaway to hold on to from this video, it's this. Blood sugar management is not about finding one single solution. It's about supporting your body with a combination of good habits and paying attention to nutrients that are easy to overlook, like the three we just covered. Before you go, here's that one mistake we mentioned earlier, and it's worth repeating clearly. Many people, once they learn about a helpful vitamin, assume that taking a very high dose will produce faster or better results. With vitamin D, excessive amounts can build up in the body and cause complications. With vitamin K, to high doses can interact with certain medications. Even with thiamine, while it's generally considered very safe, more isn't inherently better if your levels are already sufficient. The safest and most effective approach is always to check your levels, talk with your doctor, and make adjustments based on your actual needs, not guesswork. If you're dealing with ongoing blood sugar concerns, unexplained fatigue, or symptoms that worry you, please don't rely on a video, including this one, as a replacement for proper medical care. Use this information as a starting point for a more informed conversation with your doctor. Now I'd love to hear from you. Of the three vitamins we covered today, vitamin D, vitamin K2, or vitamin B1, which one surprised you the most? Was it one you already knew about or one you'd never heard of before today? Drop a comment and let us know, and if you feel comfortable sharing, tell us your age or the country you're watching from. It's always encouraging to see just how many people from different backgrounds and different corners of the world are here learning and taking care of their health together. If this video gave you something useful to think about, consider sharing it with a friend or family member who might benefit from it too. And if you found this helpful, you're welcome to subscribe for more videos like this one, where we take a calm, honest look at the health topics that matter most as we get older. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next video.